Psycho sat on the edge of a rocky cliff, overlooking the valley below where the last rays of the sun bathed the landscape in golden light. It was his favorite spot to think, to escape the constant whirl of thoughts that buzzed in his head like a swarm of bees. Lately, though, the thoughts had become more overwhelming, more persistent. They centered around the same thing: the fear of losing control. Psycho was a young man known for his sharp mind and meticulous nature. In his village, he was often sought after for advice, his ability to analyze problems and find solutions admired by all. But this reputation came at a cost. Psycho had grown to believe that every problem had to be solved, every obstacle had to be overcome by sheer force of will. He had become a prisoner of his own expectations, constantly grappling with the fear of failure. Today, he found himself struggling with a new problem. His younger sister, Aiko, had fallen seriously ill, and no matter how much he tried, no solution seemed to be within his grasp. He had consulted the best healers, tried every remedy, and yet, Aiko's condition did not improve. The sense of helplessness gnawed at him, like a dark cloud settling over his heart. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows, an old man appeared beside Psycho. The man had appeared at the cliff before, always when Psycho was deep in thought, but they had never spoken. Today, however, the old man settled down beside him and looked out at the valley in silence for a long while. Finally, the old man spoke, his voice gentle and filled with the wisdom of many years. "You look troubled, young one. What weighs so heavily on your heart?" Psycho hesitated, but then found himself pouring out his worries to the old man, about Aiko, about the fear of failing her, about the crushing burden of not finding a solution. The old man listened patiently, nodding occasionally. When Psycho had finished, the old man sighed, his eyes reflecting the fading light. "Let me tell you something, Psycho. When I was younger, I was much like you, driven by the need to solve every problem that came my way. I believed that if I could not find a solution, then I had failed. It took me many years to realize the simple truth: if there is a problem, there is a solution. But if there is no solution, then there is no problem." Psycho frowned, not fully understanding. "But how can that be? If there is no solution, the problem still exists, doesn't it?" The old man smiled softly. "A problem is only a problem if you let it be. If you can solve it, you do so with all your might. But if you can't, it is beyond your control, and it ceases to be a problem, at least in the sense that you should spend your energy on it. To worry over something you cannot change is to waste your life on things that do not matter in the end." "But how can I just let it go?" Psycho asked, his voice tinged with frustration. "It's not about giving up," the old man replied, "but rather about acceptance. We humans often think we must control everything around us, but there is much that lies beyond our grasp. Accepting that and focusing only on what we can change brings peace. And in that peace you will find clarity and perhaps even a solution you hadn't seen before." Psycho sat quietly, the words slowly sinking in. The weight on his chest began to lighten as the realization dawned on him. Perhaps the old man was right. There was only so much he could do. He could care for Aiko, comfort her, be by her side. But beyond that, he had to accept that the outcome was not in his hands. As the sun finally disappeared behind the mountains, leaving the sky awash in hues of purple and blue, Psycho felt a sense of calm he hadn't felt in days. He turned to thank the old man, but he was gone, leaving only the echo of his words in the cool evening air. Psycho stood up, feeling the firm ground beneath his feet. He looked out over the valley one last time before turning back toward the village. There were things he could not control, and he was learning to be okay with that. There was peace in knowing that not every problem had a solution. Sometimes, the real challenge was in letting go. And with that, Psycho began his walk home, ready to face whatever the future held with a lighter heart.